Hi there, and welcome to the Neckpour. My name is Lewis, and welcome to the Whisky Review channel, where I give you my thoughts and opinions on a particular bottle of whisky from the Neckpour all the way down to the Dregs. You join me here today for the Dregs of this bottle of Bankhall British Single Malt. Picked up for only £17. This was probably the first bargain I picked up on the channel, and it's one that I've really quite enjoyed so far. I've already taken a measure out for my infinity bottle, so I pour myself a fairly healthy drum of this, and yeah, we'll have a little smell and a taste and see what we think. I'll give you my thoughts and opinions, and then if you stay through to the end, I'll taste it up against my homemade whiskey infusion made with this. If you want to see more about that, click the link up there and I'll show you the playlist and what I did to infuse that, and we'll see whether I improved it or made it worse. But yeah, before we get started, I would just like to say, if you're enjoying the content, please do hit the like button. If you've got any thoughts and opinions on this bottle of whiskey, what I did with it, or there's anything you'd like to see me review, drop it down in the comments below. I'll be sure to get back to you and take it on board. And if you're really enjoying the content, please do hit subscribe and that notification bell so you're notified next time I post. It really does mean a lot. Other than that, let's get this poured and let's have a little waffle. So that really is the Dregs, completely gone. And yeah, quite a pretty bottle, this one. And this has all been distilled at the Aberfoyle's distillery, because they're all part of the same group, the Halewood Artisanal Spirits, and also a few other brands throughout the spirits world they also have. I go into that in slightly more detail just up there in the Neckpour of it and talk through them. But yeah, after spending some time with this, it's really nice. It's approachable whiskey. It's fairly simple. It's not changed a huge amount. You get a little bit of oak on the nose, a little bit of sherry, but it's almost slightly artificial. Perhaps even a slight sort of acetone, young sort of nose. On the palate, heaps of raisins straight off the bat, along with a bit of a kind of dark chocolate, and also a slight sort of vanilla-y tone, and then finishing through to, again, something slightly nutty, again that chocolate, a little bit of, again, that sort of acetone nail polish remover sort of finish, and very youthful. And it is only being 40%, chill filtered. It's very short on the finish. It's not particularly mouth coating, but it is pretty pleasant, you know. And down in that category, it's only really going against blends, and it's only really going against the cheaper blends. And I think this does a really good job of standing up against them. You know, again, something like a Johnny Walker Black, for example, I think is better than this. But you're also paying £10 more a bottle, sort of minimum, because you're looking at probably 27 quid nowadays for a bottle of Johnny Walker. Whereas this was 17 on offer. And it certainly, to me, beats Grant's into a tin hat, beats Bell's into a tin hat. The only one that for me can stand up with this is Foam's Grouse, that can compete price-wise, which I think Grouse is really good whiskey, actually. I think it's a very good blend, and great for the price point. But no, this is perfectly sippable, enjoyable. And because of the price point, it's also been one I've been happy to cook with, made a few sauces with it, I made cocktails with it, and it's also what I've made my whiskey infusion from. And that was kind of a little bit of a proof of concept, because as I go through these reviews with you guys, inevitably, I'm going to end up with bad whiskey. There's going to be something that I really don't like, and it's trying to kind of find something that I can do with it, that I'm still getting value from the bottle without having to drink a whiskey I don't enjoy. Because there's no point drinking just for the sake of it. We should be drinking for enjoyment, we should be drinking for pleasure, and we should be drinking responsibly. And just forcing something down just because you've already bought it doesn't kind of align with those values to me. So yeah, I was looking for something to do, and I think it's turned out pretty well. I've got a little dram of it just down here actually, and as you can see, it's a little bit cloudy. Try and make sure I'm out of the way. And that's just because there's solids in there. I very lightly strained it through muslin or cheesecloth, depending where you are in the world. But obviously, I didn't want to strain it too much and risk losing anything. As you've seen, if you watch the playlist, this has been infused with various fresh fruits, dried fruits, spices, vanillas, things like that, but no added sugar. Everything in here is natural. And yeah, this is the first time for me actually tasting it side by side. So let's see what we think. I'll just have another sip of this, just to refresh my palate, and then go on to this. It's much heavier, much denser. And strangely, despite the things that were in there actually giving off liquid and lowering the ABV, it's almost more boozy. The spices that have been in there only just kind of come through right at the back end. The vanilla it was in with really pops. And again, the dried fruit that it was in with really pops. But is it better? I don't necessarily think it is. And I think it's because the second maturation of this, when I left it, I think I left it a little bit too long actually. I think I could have pulled it a week or two earlier and got a slightly better result. But no, it's pretty good, and it's an interesting kind of proof of the concept of doing it. But back to the actual whiskey itself, I have genuinely enjoyed this bottle, and for the price point, it means I can only recommend it to you guys. It's been really, really enjoyable to drink, and yeah, you can't argue with the value. But before I go on any further about this, I would just like to say thanks so much for joining me here today. If you've enjoyed the content, please do give it a like. If you've got any thoughts, opinions on this particular bottle of whiskey, what I did with it, or there's anything you'd like to see me review, please leave that in the comments below. And if you've really enjoyed the content and want to see some more, please do hit that subscription button and the notification bell so you're notified next time I post. But other than that, I'd just like to say thank you so much for joining me here today. I'd love to see you again for another episode of the Neckpour, the Dregs, the Bottle Battle, or just my thoughts and opinions on whiskey. But until then, I'd just like to say cheers, sláinte, and I'll see you again.